Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, I quickly wanted to go over one important aspect of Azure in a brief and concise way, and that is your Azure Monitor. Your Azure Monitor is your one-place monitoring solution for your cloud environment, but remember that it can be extended to your on-premises environment as well. Okay, and you can use this feature to collect, analyze, and act on telemetry data. Okay, now there are two different type of things that you will find when you're using Azure Monitor. One is the metrics and another is the logs. The metrics, they're really point in time data, they're numerical in nature, and by default Azure collects the metrics data in every 1 minute. Now you can go there and configure the way you want, but every single minute they're collecting this data, so it's near real time. Okay, so it can give you alerts and you can act on it. So let's go to the next page. What kind of data sources are supported? Okay, so resources, if you have any kind of resources, most resources, they're going to support monitoring data. If you have a subscription, you'll get monitoring data on your subscription. Your tenant monitoring data, you will also be available and could be monitored using the Azure Monitor. Application metrics that comes from the application insights, they also are available from the Azure Monitor. And so kind of, if you think of this, the resource monitoring data, they're really type of platform metrics. These are generally out of the box and you don't really need too much of configuration to get this information. If you want the guest operating system metrics, those are metrics that are coming from within a guest operating system. Now note that you gotta have diagnostic extension for Windows system installed if you need this feature. Alright, so just remember that if you want to have the guest OS level metrics, you gotta install the extension, which is for Windows, is Windows Diagnostic extension for Windows systems, and for Linux machine you gotta have InfluxData Telegraf agent. Okay, you can also customize your agent based on your need as well. Now I'm going to present this nice pictorial depiction of how the Azure Monitor works, and this is coming out of Azure itself. If you go to the link that I have provided here, docs.microsoft.com in -es Azure Monitor overview, you will find this really nice depiction where on the left hand side it's telling you what are the different sources that can provide data to Azure Monitor. Okay, applications, operating system, any kind of Azure resources, your subscription, and things that are outside your subscription like Azure tenant, your Active Directory, and even you can extend it beyond that with custom sources. All of that data that can go, and as we talked about, it could be either metric type or logs. Metrics are numeric data, and logs, they will usually have multiple different information associated with a log, and based on what is your data source, your log may have different set of information. So once you take all of that and you want to analyze that, so how do you analyze? So if it's application, you will see the application insights. For the containers, you have insights available, even virtual machine and different monitoring solution, you have the insights available. You can visualize your dashboards, you can visualize using dashboard views, you can send it to Power BI or workbooks to visualize the data. You have metrics analytics available, you have the log analytics available to do your analysis work, and you'll be using Kusto queries for that. And if you need to respond to some alerts, you have alerting available. and auto scale based on some metric. So maybe you're using too much of your CPU, you need to provision some more instances of containers or virtual machines. You can do that, you can respond to that based on your alerts, and all of that can be integrated with Logic App and export APIs. Okay, that's a really nice diagram architecture type that shows your source, what you're doing, how you can use it. Okay, let's go to the next slide. As I kind of briefly mentioned, metrics, they're point in time data. It's collected at regular intervals and by default by every 1 minute. Supports near real-time scenario, great for alerts, and as I said, it supports lots of visualization. Again, it can be integrated with Event Hub, sent to the Log Analytics workspace. Also, this receiving or querying the data also supports PowerShell. It also has a very good REST API support where you can call the monitor, Azure Monitor, and get the information that you need. Now you can also archive the data in Azure storage for future use as well. Okay, so how do you go to Azure Monitor? So let's do a very short demo. Okay, so here's my Azure environment. So to go to Monitor, all I need to do is just click on Monitor, just search for Monitor. We can go there, and once we go to Monitor, okay, so there are a lot of things available. We're not gonna go over everything. I have other videos more detailed, like an hour-long video you can look up. In this one, what will go to the metrics and select a scope. So all we need to do is go to the metrics, and once you go to metric, you can click on the select a scope. Now in here you can select what is it that you wanna work on. So let's select that one. Excuse me. And you cannot select multiple different things. Okay, so let's come back, let's say cancel, and come over here. Let's see what I have. A test VM, I have only one thing over there, not much. So let's see what else do I have. Maybe a storage account. Do I have a storage account? Maybe try to use the storage account, then see if I can. Yeah, so that one I can select, so I hit apply. So now it's giving me a matrix namespace, the account, and what kind of matrix do you want? Maybe I want to look at the availability. Okay, and the aggression is also tell you what the average, minimum, or maximum. And the other thing that you need to look at is it you want to look at last 30 days or last 7 days, things like that. So you can play with this graph as long as you want. You can drill into the logs, then create new alert rule based on new findings. You can add metric, add filter, so all kinds of stuff you can do over here. Alright, metrics are also available from inside individual resource. What I mean by that, so if you go to the storage accounts, and we were kind of trying to work with one of these storage accounts. If you go there, you should be able to see the metrics and graphs over here as well. By default, they're giving it to you, and it's got somewhat similar feature, like you can also change the amount of time that you want to look at the graphs. And here, what more detailed level, you can look at the container, files, tables, queues. So you have more control over here. So that's about it. And then if we come to the next section, another thing that Azure helps you with is the baseline for resources. And there is a concept called dynamic threshold where you do not need to manually configure any threshold. Azure can use advanced machine learning to learn about historical trends in metrics for various resource use and workloads. What you need to do, we can create an action rule once, and then we can apply the action rule on various resources, and we can use a scalable alerting where once we create the threshold for a series of metric, we can apply to multiple resources. And since we all know that our resource usage will somewhat change over time, Azure can intelligently learn about the new pattern and change its baseline to avoid a whole bunch of false positive as well. Okay. Uh, the next thing, diagnostic settings. These are type of logs where you can have a tenant log or resource logs. A tenant log, they will have information such as the Active Directory log, and resource logs, they will be coming from within VM, storage account, stuff like that. Now remember, these diagnostic setting logs, they are not operating system level logs, meaning to get diagnostic logs you do not need to require any agent installation. Okay, you will get it like when a resource is created, who worked on it, when it was shut down, stuff like that. And the logs, they can be stored in a storage account for further review, for audit, or for analysis, data analysis, that kind of stuff. Now, how do you enable a diagnostic setting? For most cases, the multiple ways to do that, but if you one of the easiest way, you can go to an individual resource, or you can go to monitor, look for diagnostic settings. Maybe let's come over here, diagnostic settings over here, and then it will kind of tell you which machine may be available, what is available, where you can enable the diagnostic setting. Okay, so let's maybe work on the IP address. So if you go there, so it says no diagnostic settings defined. It's also telling you where you can apply it, so you can click on that one, and then if you want this, you can add all of that, send it to log analytics. Yeah, why not? So we created a log analytics workspace. Let's send it to there. Archive to storage, stream to vendor, we don't need those. So, and name, diagnostic name, this is let's call it diag 1 is gonna take it. Yeah, it's take it. So you name it based on your own company nomenclature standard. So that's how I enabled the diagnostics. And let's go back in here. Sometimes you have to go back in some other place. If it doesn't refresh, come back to diagnostic settings. So now you see it's going to show up that the IP address is now enabled for our diagnostic log collections. If you want to do the diagnostics on backup, you can go to the same thing and enable things that you really care about. Alright, let's go back to our presentation. So you can also go to a guest virtual machines, and you can enable the guest level monitoring. Now some of the machine you may have trouble, like if I go over here, so this is the virtual machine that I'm running, and this particular machine, it's a Kali Linux. This one got trouble installing that monitoring agent. Okay, so here the diagnostic setting can be updated when the virtual machine is not. So this machine is not even running at the moment, so even if we turn it back on, I know that I'm gonna have trouble with this machine, because this is a very low powered machine, and we just had trouble installing that agent. So there might be some issues that you may have to look at. You have to look at how to install it and fix your problem. If you cannot just automatically get it. Okay, it doesn't happen very often, but for the most part, you would either configure your diagnostic settings from inside a virtual machine or inside a resource, or going to the place that I have already shown you from the monitor. Okay. So let's see what else we need to look at. So log analytics is another thing. Telemetry data from various different resources, and also the on-prem resources, you can send the data and store in a log analytics workspace. Once you have that, you can use the Kusto query language to query that. Okay, and let's show you how to create a workspace. And it's really simple. You just say new resource, or you can just come over here and say log analytic. I just typed log and log workspace came up, right? So you can just then, I already have one. Excuse me. So you'll just click on add, and you'll go through the standard process. Okay, just go to your resource group. You need a name. Okay, so and then region, then pretty much that's it, and then you create it, and it will create a log analytics workspace, and you can start using this to collect your data once the deployment is done, and then you'll be able to query this log analytics workspace to get the information that you care about. All right, so we have done shown you how to create a log analytics workspace as well. The last thing I really wanted to show you is what can you use to query all the data that you're collecting. So you can query your data from the portal. Okay, we have already looked at some graphs. You can visualize those. You can pin some of the graphs to your dashboard that are really important to you. Alert rules that we create, they're also based on the Kusto query, and when we run the query and we look for certain parameters and we decide on whether the parameters is meeting our expectation or it's not. We can use query to export our data to Power BI. We can use the PowerShell to query the data, and I'll just quickly show you how to get to the log analytics workspace, okay, from the monitor, so you know how to go there, and I'll show you some sample queries and where to find it. Okay, so if you come over here and go to monitor or Azure Monitor back again, now you have this logs directly available over here. You can just click on it, and this is really your log analytics workspace. So logs means, just remember that it's a log analytics workspace. Okay, now if you look over here, okay, there are so many different queries that are already available that are pre-built. Okay, so you can click on virtual machines and what chart the CPU trend. Some of that start will if you click on it, all those queries, they will be pre-populated over here, and all you need to do is run this, and if there's any data already been collected, it will show up in here. Okay, you can look at the chart, graph, you can visualize this information, stuff like that. But just remember that this is the general Kusto type language, and it looks a little bit of like a SQL language, where you're saying, here's the table. Okay, what in this table, where the counter name is %processor time and the object name is processor, summarize all the information, average counter value by being time generated 15 minutes every 15 minutes, and then render it as a time chart. So once you start looking at some of this data, you'll have a better idea what to do. You can look at the tables. So these are all the tables that we have. So if you open it, it will go and show you the details of the different columns and stuff like that. Alright, with that, I think you got a little bit good understanding of Azure Monitor and what you can do about it. I have several different videos on the same topic, so just go through some others if you need some more information. But this one should be good enough to get started and have an overall understanding of how Azure Monitor works. Alright, thank you for watching the video. Have a great day.